Hello, 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 you guys. Welcome to the second day of February, Black History Month, and we're just going to go ahead and get into it. As you can see, I'm sharing with you guys a post that I put on my Instagram last year for Black History Month, and keeping in step with how I feel right now about injustice. I wanted to talk to you guys about the Black Holocaust. We hear about the Holocaust all the time, Germany's Holocaust against the Jews. And I am not. Let me say this right now because somebody is just going to misconstrue this. I am not by any means minimizing what happened to the Jews because what happened to them was horrific. Injustice is like I'm telling you, persecution is persecution, and it's not okay, regardless of who you are. But we don't hear about the Black Holocaust and what happened to millions of Africans. Why is that? Why don't we hear about the Black Holocaust the way we do about the Jewish Holocaust victims? Because they just celebrated it like a couple weeks ago or like last week. But I know growing up, I didn't hear about Germany's Black Holocaust. And it is a thing. I mean, I really researched and looked into it. The U.S. One of our museums actually the U.S. Holocaust Museum has information about it. So I'm just going to read to you guys what I wrote last year. We're going to get into, the whole deal about the Holocaust and, I just, yeah. So did you know Blacks were also persecuted during the Holocaust? Most of us don't know. Persecution of Blacks occurred despite their relatively small presence in Germany. Blacks accounted for roughly 20,000 people out of an overall population of 65 million by 1933. So, yeah, that's considered relatively small. The children of African soldiers serving with French troops and German women were viewed as a threat to the purity of the Germanic race. Sounds like the same thing how they felt about Jews. The Nazis referred to them as the Rhineland bastards. Blacks from other areas of Europe and America were also victimized by the Nazi regime after they were caught on German-occupied Europe during World War II or held as prisoners of war. Although the Nazis did not have an organized program to eliminate African Germans, many of them were persecuted, as were other people of African descent. Some Blacks in Germany and German-occupied territories were isolated. An unknown number were sterilized, incarcerated, or murdered. During Holocaust, Black people, 1890 to 1945. And this is what get me. This stuff happened 1890 to 1945. So just like there are, Jews who remember the Holocaust, there are Black people living today but do we hear about it? You tell me, how often when have you ever heard about Black people being persecuted by Germany in the German Holocaust? Hey, when did you ever hear about the German Black Holocaust? Because until I started researching and finding and digging, I didn't. So where are the reparations for those people? Where's the honor in their lives? Did their lives not matter? Were their lives less significant? Why don't we hear about this like we do the Holocaust? Persecution is persecution. It don't matter. It's all wrong. It says an unknown number were sterilized, incarcerated, or murdered. And yes, if you don't know, they have a database of these Holocaust victims, of these Black Holocaust victims. If you look it up on the U.S. Holocaust Museum, or if you just go out here and research the German Black Holocaust on the U.S. Holocaust Museum, there is a link, and it says, like the names that kind of chronicle the victims and the names of the people that they were able to capture, as far as chronicle and census of the victims of the Black German Holocaust. This is Black history. Why am I sharing this? Because persecution happens everywhere, and it happens all over the world to Black people. It's not just happening here in the United States, and we're the only ones that are persecuted, or that no, Black folks are persecuted all over this world. I just shared it with you. 1890 to 1945. But we don't hear about it. When they celebrate the Holocaust and the freedom, the Jews, when they were released from, all of that kind of stuff with Hitler, you don't hear nothing about the Blacks. You don't hear nothing about the Black folks in the German Holocaust. Why is that? When we talk about systemic oppression, we exist. We're on this planet. But don't nobody really want to talk about that stuff. But it happened. 1890 to 19. Come on, man. 50 something years. 1890 to 1945. 50 something years. 55 to be exact. And we ain't heard about it. It's not taught. This is not part of the history we're taught. But when you hear about the Holocaust, what do you hear about? And again, by no means am I minimizing it, but this is Black History Month. And at no other time in my entire life as a kid, or even as an adult, did I ever hear about the Black German Holocaust. Ever. 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 Why? Oppression is oppression. Right is right, is wrong is wrong. I don't care. It's wrong. I don't care if you Black, white, 4 shades on midnight purple. You should not be, persecuted for any reason. So this is our little known Black history fact for today. In 1945 is when these Black Africans saw an end to the oppression and persecution that they experienced at the hands of Nazi Germans during the German Holocaust of Black people. Not just in America, folks. It's everywhere. It happens everywhere. So that's what I'm teaching you today. The Black German Holocaust from 1890 to 1945. Do with that what you will.